The Arbitrum ARB Airdrop has officially been announced. In today's video, I'm going through all the airdrop details, who's eligible, how to check your eligibility, and what you can do next, even if you didn't qualify for this airdrop. Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. As always, my channel is for educational purposes only, not financial advice. Now, let's get into it. The Arbitrum airdrop is one of the most anticipated airdrops in crypto because Arbitrum is one of the most used chains by pretty much every metric and is the largest Ethereum layer 2 rollup. So Arbitrum provides scaling solutions for Ethereum, and they have oftentimes upwards of 1 million transactions per day. And they didn't have a token until now, or rather, they will have a token in 7 days. And the aim of this token is basically to decentralize Arbitrum. They're starting the Arbitrum DAO, and DAOs need a governance token. One thing that it's important to note is that this token will not actually be used to pay for transactions on Arbitrum. That's currently ETH, and ETH will continue to be the token you use to pay for transactions on Ethereum. However, that being said, since Arbitrum is a large ecosystem and they are expanding the ecosystem more by making it easy for people to launch layer 3s on top of Arbitrum, controlling governance in Arbitrum could still be quite valuable, and I expect that at some point some value will accrue back to token stakers, although that's speculation as of now. And if we look at the airdrop and token distribution, we find that 11.62% of the total ARB tokens are being distributed to users. There's going to be 10 billion total, so you can do the math. That's just over 1 billion tokens are being distributed, and then 1.13% are being distributed to DAOs in the Arbitrum ecosystem. Arbitrum projects that have been building on Arbitrum for a long time will receive tokens, and then they'll be able to do with those tokens as they wish. And so if we look at this here, look at the total distribution, we see that 17.53% is for investors, 26.94% is for team and advisors, 42.78% is for the DAO treasury, and then the remainder is for the individual wallets, aka airdrop, and the DAOs, which is kind of an airdrop as well, but to protocols instead of users. And I know a lot of people took issues with this. They said it was too insider heavy. I wouldn't be so sure because we don't know where this DAO treasury is going to go yet, and governance token holders in theory will have control over that, so they may decide to do future airdrops, will likely decide to do ecosystem incentives. So I think a lot of this DAO treasury is going to find its way back to the community. And yes, some projects don't have 27% to the team and advisors, but at the end of the day, these are the people who actually built the chain, right? I'm grateful for any free money that I get. And if you've been using Arbitrum up until now, then there's a good chance that you are eligible. The cutoff for this was in February, so if you just started using it in the past month, then probably you missed the cutoff, but you might as well check anyways. So you go to this page, arbitrum.foundation, and then click on check eligibility. And this is not my main wallet. This is just a burner wallet that I use for YouTube. My main wallet was eligible, but you can see here, it'll tell you if you are eligible or not. And then you can see all of the criteria. And the criteria are you bridge funds to Arbitrum, you bridge funds to Arbitrum Nova. So the main Arbitrum chain people use is actually Arbitrum 1. There's a second chain called Arbitrum Nova, which I covered when I talked about qualifying for the Arbitrum airdrop back in the fall. Transactions over time. So they looked at how many different months you conducted transactions in. And this is actually, I think, probably one of the best ways to find real users versus people who are just seeking hype. So if you used it during 2 distinct months, you got 1 point. 6 distinct months, you got 1 point. 9 distinct months, you got 1 point. So each of these bullet points is basically a point, and then they total up all your points at the end, and then the amount of tokens you receive is based on how many points you had. Next thing is the transaction frequency and interaction. So it has to do with how many transactions you did and how many smart contracts you interacted with. The transaction value. So what was the aggregate value of your transactions? Levels being 10, 50, and 250, and depositing liquidity. So did you deposit more than $10,000 of liquidity, 50,000, or 250,000? And although you don't need to get all of these to get a generous airdrop, this one was the main one I was a little disappointed in because I was like, okay, I was never going to deposit $250,000 of liquidity. Wouldn't have been able to. And then the next one is Arbitrum Nova. So like I mentioned before, Arbitrum Nova is the second Arbitrum chain. It's much smaller and it's tailor-made for high throughput applications like games and social. If you conducted transactions on there, you might be eligible for an additional airdrop, 3, 5, and 10. And something to note is that points scored before Arbitrum Nitro, that was an upgrade at the end of the summer, are worth double. So if you were using this earlier in the year, when we first started covering it on the channel earlier in 2022, then you got double the points for those early transactions. And those are the criteria. If you look at exactly how it works, basically you add up all the points. If you had less than 3, you're not eligible. Starting at 3 points, you become eligible with 1,200 tokens, and then it just scales up all the way to 12 or more, at which point you get 10,200 tokens. And one thing to note is that you can get the maximum allocation without getting all of these, as long as you got almost all of them. Maybe some of you didn't get the airdrop, or you didn't get the allocation you were hoping for. There's still a lot you can do, because this ARB token airdrop is going to bring a lot of money into the Arbitrum ecosystem. And I think there's a decent chance that that attracts even more money as hype builds up. That being said, there's also a chance that many people were using Arbitrum in hopes of getting this airdrop and that they'll now exit. However, if we look at what happened with a similar Ethereum rollup, Optimism, we find that there was an initial wave of hype when they launched their token. It quieted down a bit, and then over time, it built up more, and they ended up well above where they were before they launched the token. So I think that the token long run will probably lead to more money and users entering Arbitrum. But if you are interested in trying to benefit from the ecosystem growing, there's a lot of great DeFi projects that you can look at on Arbitrum itself. And if you don't know where to start, I have a few videos I've made recently about getting started in Arbitrum DeFi. I have this one, Everything You Need to Get Started, which I'll link in the description. And then I also have my top 5 Arbitrum DeFi projects for March 2023 if you want to learn more about some of these specific Arbitrum projects. And if you've never used Arbitrum before and this is making you think maybe you want to get started, then I have another video, how to add Arbitrum to your MetaMask and bridge to Arbitrum, step-by-step instructions. I'll link all 3 of those videos down in the description. And those are the details about the Arbitrum airdrop. Once it's possible to claim, I'll drop a follow-up video with instructions on how to do that. If you want more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.